From now on, the only people I'm going to listen to slash believe are people who work with sports betting, making odds, and doing anything with sports and betting. Anything with gambling, okay? Because I'm starting to think those are the only people who know what the hell they're talking about. I mean, just look at like some of the bets and the betting odds over, the last year or two, whatever, since, they kind of shoved it down our throats. I personally don't bet, but I do like to look at the odds from time to time just to see, what's going on and what's happening. Bruh. I know a lot of people like to say the NFL is scripted, right? The NFL is like, oh, it's scripted based on betting and based on DraftKings and money and FanDuel. It's not, but if you really go down that rabbit hole and you start looking into it, it becomes really impossible to not feel that way. And yeah, so sports betting analyst makes bold prediction about the Bengals 2025 season before their offseason problems have been solved, which obviously this offseason we have a tons of problems. So ESPN betting analyst boldly predicts the Bengals will win the Super Bowl, which, hey, that is a very bold prediction after we did not make the playoffs this year to automatically predict we're going to go to the Super Bowl and win next year. I think we're going to win the Super Bowl next year, but I also think we're going to win every single year. So it's kind of like, I'm very biased. I'm a Bengals fan, Bengals channel, we're going to think we're going to win, and we know eventually we will win. It's not if, it's a when will we win, and eventually it will happen. Now, again, at the end of the day, this is someone who works for ESPN, so I do have a little tiny extra credibility to this person giving a prediction. Obviously, at the end of the day, some of the ESPN people have put out some crazy stories, some crazy articles over the years, so it's not that I'm like 1000% all on board with ESPN, but at least at the end of the day, there is some validity to this. This isn't just a random guy in his mom's basement saying, I think the Bengals are going to beat the Bears. Like, this is actually some validity to it, which is kind of cool. Bengals over Commanders. Both predictions are not for the week. The Bengals are looking to bounce back after the disappointing 2024 season, and the Commanders are up on an intriguing long shot after making the NFC Championship game last year. With significant cap space, both teams could make impactful moves to bolster their rosters and make the big game. With us, again, we need to work on our defensive line. We need to work on our linebacking core. We need to work on our safeties and work on our offensive line. If we can get all those things figured out, we will be fine, but there is a lot we have to do this offseason. It's a very important offseason. The crazy thing about, last year, or I guess this season, I guess you could say 2024, was at the end of the day, it was a very disappointing season, but the reason why it was so disappointing is kind of how it ended. Because back-to-back years now, 9-8, almost one game out for making the playoffs. And I feel like we were on such a good run. We had so much momentum going into the potentially going to playoffs that's what really sucks so bad. Is just how much momentum we had going into the playoffs. Now, obviously, in the end, we get a better draft pick, right? But then you look at the playoffs, you're like, do I think we could beat, our playoff thing would have been, we played the Bills. I think we could have beat the Bills. We played the Chiefs. I think we could have beat the Chiefs. Then we played the AFC Championship game versus the Ravens or whoever. I really think we could have at least gotten to the Super Bowl this year. I don't know if we would have beaten the Eagles. Which I guess could always be a blessing in disguise if you think about it. Like, if we would have gotten to the playoffs, what would have happened? Would we have actually been able to beat the Eagles? I think we could have ran through the AFC. And with enough momentum, I think we could have given the Eagles a really tough game. A lot tougher of a game, I think, than what the Chiefs did. I think we would have done a lot better than the Chiefs game. But the Eagles was one of those teams this year that gave us so much problems when we played them. In the end, they ended up blowing us out, even though for most of the game, we actually had it under control until that 4th and 1. But once that 4th and 1 happened, they just blew us out. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, and what gives me some type of like kind of calmness here is I feel like no matter what, whoever played in the Super Bowl this year, the Eagles were going to win it. Like, the Eagles were just truly that dominant of a team that I don't know if anyone was going to stop them or get through them. It just was not going to happen. Like, they were that truly dominant of a team. So it is what it is at the end of the day, guys. Tell me down below your thoughts, opinions. See you guys next one. Peace.